The jungle was alive. Not just with the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves, but with a deep, throbbing heartbeat that seemed to echo from the ground itself. Emma could feel it the moment she stepped off the helicopter. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of wet earth. It felt like stepping into another world, one untouched by time. Emma was an anthropologist, dedicated to studying isolated tribes and their cultures. She had heard whispers about a mysterious tribe deep within the Amazon, a tribe that few had seen and fewer had lived to tell about. These whispers fascinated her, and she knew she had to find them. As she walked through the dense foliage, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of leaves and snap of a twig made her heart race. She glanced back at her small team, James, the photographer, and Dr. Patel, a local expert on Amazonian tribes. Both seemed uneasy, their eyes darting around the thick greenery. "Are you sure this is the right way, Dr. Patel?" Emma asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Dr. Patel nodded. The locals spoke of a path that leads to their village. They warned us about certain things. What things? James asked, his voice tinged with nervousness. Spirits, Dr. Patel said simply. They believe the jungle is alive with spirits of their ancestors. Emma felt a chill run down her spine but pushed on. She was determined to find the truth, no matter the cost. The village was eerily quiet when they arrived. Small huts made of wood and leaves were scattered around a central clearing. There were no signs of life, no children playing or adults working. It was as if the entire village had vanished. Where is everyone?" James asked, his voice echoing in the silence. Emma walked forward cautiously. Hello? Is anyone here?" she called out, her voice shaking slightly. Suddenly, an old woman appeared from one of the huts. Her eyes were milky white, and she moved with an unnatural grace. "You should not be here," as she said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We mean no harm," Emma said, raising her hands. "We just want to learn about your culture." The old woman laughed, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. "There is no culture left here. Only death." Emma felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. What do you mean?" The old woman pointed to the jungle. The spirits. They are angry. They do not like outsiders." Before Emma could ask more, the woman disappeared back into her hut, leaving them standing in the deserted village, feeling more alone than ever. They set up camp just outside the village, too uneasy to sleep within its confines. As night fell, the jungle seemed to come alive with sounds, howls, whispers, and rustling that seemed to circle their camp. Emma couldn't sleep. She sat by the fire, staring into the darkness. Do you think it's true?" "About the spirits?" she asked James. James shrugged. "I don't know. But something about this place feels wrong." Dr. Patel joined them, his face pale. We should leave. Now. I have heard stories about this place. People who come here, they don't leave." Emma shook her head. We can't leave yet. We haven't found out anything. We need to understand what's happening here." Suddenly, they heard a scream. It was a blood-curdling sound that echoed through the jungle, making their blood run cold. They grabbed their flashlights and ran towards the sound, hearts pounding in their chests. What they found made their blood turn to ice. One of their team members, a local guide, was lying on the ground, his eyes wide open in terror. His body was covered in strange markings, as if something had clawed at him. Emma felt bile rise in her throat. What happened to him? Dr. Patel examined the body, his hands shaking. These markings, they are the same as the ones described in the legends. The spirits, they have claimed him. The next morning, the village was alive with activity. The once empty huts were now filled with people, their faces blank and expressionless. The old woman approached them again, her eyes gleaming. You have seen what happens to those who anger the spirits, as she said. You must leave now before it is too late. Emma stood her ground. We need to understand. Why are the spirits angry? The old woman sighed. Long ago, our tribe angered the spirits by cutting down the sacred trees and hunting the sacred animals. Since then, the spirits have cursed us. We live in fear, and those who come here, they do not leave. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Is there any way to lift the curse? The old woman nodded. There is a ritual, but it is dangerous. It requires a sacrifice. Emma's heart sank. What kind of sacrifice? The old woman looked at her with sad eyes. A life for a life. The spirits must be appeased. Emma knew what she had to do. She couldn't let anyone else die because of the curse. She volunteered to perform the ritual, despite the dangers. That night, they gathered in the clearing, the air thick with tension. The old woman began to chant, her voice rising and falling in a haunting melody. Emma stood in the center, her heart pounding. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and the air was filled with a deafening roar. The spirits had arrived. Emma felt a cold hand on her shoulder and turned to see a ghostly figure standing behind her. Its eyes were hollow, and its face was twisted in a mask of rage. She swallowed hard, her heart racing. I offer my life, as she said, her voice trembling. Please, lift the curse. The figure stared at her for a moment before nodding. It reached out and touched her forehead, and Emma felt a searing pain shoot through her body. She screamed, her vision going black. When Emma woke up, the jungle was quiet. The old woman was kneeling beside her, a look of relief on her face. You did it. The curse is lifted. Emma sat up, her body aching. What happened? The spirits have accepted your sacrifice, the old woman said. They will leave us in peace now. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had done it. She had lifted the curse. As they packed up to leave, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. The jungle had taken so much from her, but it had also given her a new understanding of the world. She looked back at the village one last time before stepping onto the helicopter. The old woman stood at the edge of the clearing, watching them go. Emma waved, and the old woman nodded in return. As they flew away, Emma felt a sense of closure. The jungle would always be a part of her, but she was ready to leave it behind. She had faced her fears and come out stronger. But as they disappeared into the distance, she couldn't shake the feeling that the jungle was watching, waiting for the next outsider to venture into its depths. The curse may have been lifted, but the spirits would always be there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be awakened once more.